There is a war happening right now, not out there, but inside you. A battle between who you are and who you could be. Every time you hit snooze instead of rising, every time you let emotions control you instead of mastering them, every time you hesitate instead of acting, you lose. And the enemy? It's not the world. It's not other people. It's you. That voice in your head telling you, just do it tomorrow. The excuses that creep in when things get hard, the hesitation, the fear, the need for comfort. They are chains disguised as thoughts, holding you back, keeping you trapped in the same cycle. But here's the truth. You don't have to keep losing. Because today, the fight changes. Today, you take control. Today, you stop being a victim of your emotions, your habits, your past. Today, you step onto the battlefield, ready to face your greatest opponent, your weaker self. This is not just another lesson. This is war. You versus you. The only question is, who will win? 1. The battle of emotions. Are you in control or are you a slave? You wake up late. The alarm didn't go off, or maybe you hit snooze one too many times. Now you're rushing, your heart pounding, frustration building. Then in traffic, someone cuts you off. Your jaw tightens, your grip on the wheel hardens, and before you know it, you're yelling at a stranger who can't even hear you. You storm into work still fuming, and the moment someone makes a minor mistake, you snap at them. The cycle continues. Your emotions controlled your entire morning. They dictated your actions. And the worst part, you didn't even realize it. Most people live like this every single day. They let anger, stress, anxiety, and fear control them like puppets on a string. They allow a single event to ruin an entire day, a single criticism to shatter their confidence, a single moment of fear to stop them from taking action. And yet, they wonder why they feel exhausted, powerless, and trapped. The answer is simple: they are not in control of their own mind. But here's the truth no one tells you. You don't have to be a prisoner of your emotions. You don't have to let anger dictate your words, let anxiety hold you back, or let fear determine your future. You have a choice to be the master or the slave. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They knew that real power isn't found in money, fame, or control over others. It's found in control over yourself. Epictetus, who was born a slave but later became one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Imagine two versions of yourself. One is your weak self, the version that gets angry over minor inconveniences, that allows fear to stop them from taking risks, that drowns in anxiety instead of taking action. This version is impulsive, reactive, and constantly at the mercy of external events. The other is your Stoic self, calm, unshaken, disciplined. This version does not react emotionally to every little thing. When someone insults them, they don't explode. They simply acknowledge that other people's words are outside their control. When a challenge arises, they don't panic. They assess the situation rationally and take action. Now ask yourself, which version wins most days? If you're being honest, the weak self probably wins far too often. You get frustrated over things that won't matter in a week. You let other people's actions dictate your mood. You overthink situations that have already happened or may never happen, and every time you do this, you give away your power. But this war is not over. The battle is ongoing, and starting today, you fight back. The next time you feel anger rising, stop, pause, observe. Where do you feel it in your body? How does it change your thoughts? And then ask yourself, is this reaction useful? Is it leading me towards strength or weakness? Most people assume that controlling emotions means suppressing them. This is false. A Stoic does not ignore emotions. They simply refuse to be controlled by them. They observe their feelings, but do not obey them. They acknowledge fear, but do not let it stop them. They recognize anger, but do not let it dictate their actions. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled during plagues, wars, and betrayals, wrote in his personal journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." If a man leading an empire could remain composed in the face of chaos, so can you. But mastering your emotions is not something you can do overnight. It requires training. And that's exactly what we're going to do. For the next 24 hours, you have one mission. Observe your emotions without reacting to them. Each time you feel anger, anxiety, or fear, pause for 5 seconds. Take a deep breath. Instead of reacting impulsively, step back and analyze the situation. If someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of honking and cursing, ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? If you receive bad news, instead of panicking, tell yourself, I will only focus on what I can control. Write down every moment where you succeeded and where you failed. At the end of the day, reflect. Who won today, my emotions or me? Because the truth is, this battle never ends. Every single day you will be tested. Some days you will lose, but with training, you will begin to win more often, and over time, something incredible happens. Your weak self becomes weaker. Your stoic self becomes stronger. And one day, without realizing it, you will wake up and realize that the things that once triggered you no longer have power over you. Most people will never reach this point. They will live their entire lives reacting instead of thinking, being led by emotions instead of logic. But you have a choice. Will you take control, or will you continue being controlled? The war is happening right now. The question is, who will win? 2. The battle of discipline. Do you act or do you wait? You wake up and your first thought is to hit snooze. 5 more minutes, then 5 more. The alarm keeps ringing and you know you should get up, but something in you resists. You check your phone, notifications, social media, distractions. Before you know it, 30 minutes have passed and now you're rushing again, behind schedule, already losing the day before it even starts. This is how most people live. They wait. They wait for motivation, for the right mood, for inspiration to strike. They wait until they feel like it before they act. And this waiting, this hesitation, it's the difference between a person who controls their life and a person who is controlled by it. Discipline is the line that separates the weak from the strong. The weak self makes excuses, delays action, avoids discomfort. The strong stoic self moves forward regardless of emotions, follows principles, and embraces the challenge. The question is, who are you training to be? Motivation is a lie. The most successful, disciplined, and resilient people in the world do not wait for motivation. They act first. They train their minds to follow what needs to be done, not what they feel like doing. They understand that emotions are fleeting, but habits shape destiny. Imagine 2 versions of yourself. One version is trapped in the cycle of procrastination, always waiting for the perfect time, always making excuses. The other version is relentless, taking action no matter what. You know which one you admire. You know which one wins. The problem is, every day, you let the weaker version take control. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic emperors, understood this deeply. He wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. Why then do I resent it if I am going to do what I was born for?" Your body will always seek comfort. Your mind will always try to trick you into choosing ease over effort. But you are not your body. You are not your emotions. You are the one who decides whether you rise or whether you fall. Think about this. What would your life look like if you did everything you said you would do? If you followed through on your plans, showed up every day and refused to quit? What if, instead of waiting for motivation, you acted without hesitation? You already know the answer. Your life would transform. The battle of discipline is not fought in grand moments of glory. It is fought in small, seemingly insignificant decisions that stack up over time. Do you wake up early, or do you stay in bed? Do you start working on your goals, or do you scroll through your phone? Do you train your body, or do you make an excuse? Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you win. Every time you choose comfort over action, you lose. Your brain is wired for survival, not success. It will always push you toward what is easy. Your job is to override that instinct and do what needs to be done anyway. This is why the greatest test of character is what you do when you don't feel like it. Athletes train even when they're sore. Writers write even when they lack inspiration. Leaders show up even when they're exhausted. The Stoic does what is necessary, not what is convenient. And that is why they are unstoppable. You might be thinking, this sounds good, but how do I actually train discipline? The answer is simple. You act before your mind has a chance to negotiate. For the next 24 hours, you have one mission. Whenever you don't feel like doing something necessary, do it anyway. When your alarm rings, get up immediately. When you feel like skipping the gym, go anyway. When you want to procrastinate on an important task, start immediately. The moment you hesitate is the moment you lose. And at the end of the day, reflect. How many times did you let your emotions decide your actions? How many times did you override them? The score is being kept, whether you acknowledge it or not. This war will not end today. It is fought every day, in every choice, in every action. The weak self and the stoic self will battle for control. The question is, who will win tomorrow? Use a more intense storytelling approach. Instead of just examples, I will craft a gripping narrative of someone who lost everything due to laziness and hesitation. Make the next challenge harder. Instead of just 24 hours, I will introduce a multi-day challenge to push viewers beyond their comfort zone. Discipline is just one battle. Next, we go deeper. The war on perception is coming, where you decide whether life is against you or if everything is happening for you. Are you ready? 3. The battle of perception. Is life against you, or is it testing you? You wake up to an email that changes everything. The company you've worked at for years just let you go. No warning, no explanation, just a short, cold message telling you that your position has been eliminated. Your stomach drops. Your mind races. The panic sets in. What are you going to do now? You grab your phone, texting friends, complaining about how unfair this is. You replay every moment from the past few months, wondering if you could have done something differently. You spiral into frustration, anger, and self-pity. Now, let's take the exact same event and view it from a different perspective. You wake up to the same email. You feel the shock, the anxiety, the fear, but then you pause. Instead of letting the emotions take over, you ask yourself, what's my next move? Instead of complaining, you assess. Instead of blaming, you strategize. You tell yourself, I can't control what happened, but I can control what happens next. You recognize that this moment, this painful, difficult moment, is actually an opportunity to rebuild, to start something new, to finally take control of your career in a way you never could before. Same event, two completely different outcomes. The only difference? Perception. Most people go through life convinced that their circumstances define them. They think they are at the mercy of luck, fate, or the actions of others. When something bad happens, they take it personally, as if the universe is punishing them. When they face setbacks, they see them as walls, not doors. This mindset turns them into victims, trapped, powerless, always waiting for external forces to change their reality. But a Stoic knows that life is not happening to them, it is happening for them. Every difficulty is a lesson, every setback is an opportunity, every failure is a step toward growth. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled through plagues, wars, and betrayals, understood this deeply. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Most people misunderstand this idea. They think Stoicism is about ignoring pain or pretending that bad things don't happen. That's not true. A Stoic feels everything. A Stoic experiences loss, frustration, and disappointment, just like anyone else. But instead of reacting emotionally, they choose how to interpret those experiences. They ask themselves, how can this make me stronger? Imagine two soldiers standing on the battlefield. One is unprepared, afraid, and focused only on the chaos around them. They freeze, overwhelmed by fear. The other, though just as scared, sees the chaos as part of the fight. They adjust, adapt, and move forward with clarity. The battle is the same, but their mindset determines the outcome. Now apply this to your own life. When something goes wrong, do you immediately fall into self-pity, or do you see it as training? When someone criticizes you, do you let it break you, or do you use it to improve? When plans fall apart, do you let the disappointment consume you, or do you shift, adapt, and move forward? Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of our pain does not come from the event itself, but from the story we tell ourselves about it. A person loses their job, and instead of seeing it as one chapter closing and another opening, they tell themselves, "I am a failure. I will never recover from this." Someone goes through a breakup, and instead of using it as an opportunity to grow, they repeat in their mind, "I will never find happiness again." The mind is incredibly powerful. It can make hell out of heaven or heaven out of hell. The way you see your struggles will determine whether you become stronger or remain stuck. Let's make this practical. The next time something goes wrong, something small like spilling coffee, or something big like a serious setback, pause. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, how can I use this? If you fail at something, what did you learn? If someone insults you, can you use it as an opportunity to build resilience? If plans fall apart, is there an alternative route that might be even better? Now, let's raise the stakes. Over the next 24 hours, your mission is to reframe every single difficulty you face, every frustration, every inconvenience, every unexpected challenge. See them not as obstacles but as opportunities. Keep a notebook. Track every negative moment and write down how you reframed it. At the end of the day, reflect. Did I see setbacks as roadblocks, or did I turn them into stepping stones? Most people will never do this. They will continue reacting instead of thinking, complaining instead of adapting. They will stay blind to the fact that their suffering is self-inflicted, not because bad things don't happen, but because they refuse to see the lessons hidden within them. But you have a choice. You can continue living as a victim of your own perception, or you can train yourself to see the world as a Stoic does, as a constant stream of lessons shaping you, refining you, strengthening you. Life will never stop testing you. The obstacles will never stop coming. But if you train yourself to see through a Stoic lens, those obstacles will no longer be barriers. They will be exactly what you need to become unbreakable. The world isn't against you. It's training you. The only question is, will you let it? 4. The battle of identity. Do you let the past define you, or do you reinvent yourself? You look in the mirror, and what do you see? Do you see a person full of regret, weighed down by past mistakes, haunted by failures, and defined by what has already happened? Or do you see someone who is still evolving, someone who can change, someone who is not limited by yesterday but fueled by the possibility of tomorrow? Most people are trapped by their own identity, not because they lack the ability to change, but because they have convinced themselves that change is impossible. They tell themselves stories. I've always been this way. I'm not the kind of person who succeeds. It's too late for me to change. These are not facts. These are prisons, mental cages that keep people locked in the same patterns, reliving the same failures, repeating the same cycles. The weak self clings to the past, believing that their past mistakes define them. They see themselves as stuck, as if their history is a prophecy of their future. The strong Stoic self, however, refuses to be a prisoner of yesterday. They understand that identity is not fixed. It is something that can be rebuilt, reshaped, and redefined at any moment. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What does this mean? It means that no matter what has happened before, you are in control of what happens next. Your past only defines you if you allow it to. But the truth is, most people do not want to reinvent themselves. They would rather stay in a familiar cage than risk stepping into the unknown. Why? Because reinvention is uncomfortable. Change requires effort. It requires facing the painful truth that your past actions, your past beliefs, and your past habits have shaped your current reality. And that's a hard pill to swallow. But here's the reality. If you want a different future, you must become a different person. Think about the version of yourself 5 years ago. Are you still carrying their limitations? Are you still making decisions based on their fears? Are you still allowing their failures to dictate who you are today? That person no longer exists. You do not have to keep living under their shadow. Imagine two versions of the same person standing in front of a mirror. The weak self looks into the glass and sees nothing but regret, memories of failures, missed opportunities, mistakes that cannot be undone. They tell themselves, "This is who I am." The strong Stoic self looks into the mirror and sees a blank canvas. They do not deny the past, but they refuse to be ruled by it. They tell themselves, "This is who I choose to become." Reinvention does not mean ignoring the past. It means using it as fuel. It means extracting wisdom from mistakes instead of letting them define you. Seneca once said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." The problem is, most people refuse to let go of the old version of themselves, so they never allow a new version to emerge. This is where the battle happens. The battle is not with the world. It is with the voice inside your head that keeps telling you that change is impossible. That voice is a liar. It wants to keep you comfortable. It wants to keep you in the familiar. It tells you that you are your past, that you are your failures, that you are defined by what you have always been, but you are not. You have been many different versions of yourself in the past. You are not the same person you were as a child, as a teenager, as someone 5 years ago. You have already evolved countless times without realizing it. The only difference now is that you must do it consciously. Rebuilding yourself is not about waiting for the right moment. It is about choosing to act differently, to think differently, to see yourself differently. It is about rejecting the idea that you are limited by anything except your own choices. Here is your challenge. For the next 24 hours, every time you hear that voice in your head say, "That's just the way I am," stop it immediately. Every time you start to say, "I can't do that," replace it with, "I am learning to do that." Every time you begin to feel trapped by the past, remind yourself, I am designing my future, not reliving my past. And at the end of the day, ask yourself, who am I becoming? Am I designing myself, or am I letting life decide for me? Most people will never ask themselves these questions. They will continue living in old identities, repeating old habits, telling themselves old stories that keep them stuck. But you have a choice. You can break free from who you were and step into who you are meant to be. Reinvention is painful. It requires breaking old patterns, challenging old beliefs, and stepping into uncertainty. But the alternative? The alternative is spending the rest of your life as a shadow of what you could have been. Who do you choose to be? 5. You vs. You. The 7-Day Stoic Rebuilding Challenge. You can read about Stoicism. You can watch hours of videos on self-discipline. You can nod in agreement as you hear the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and Seneca. But none of it matters unless you apply it. Knowledge without action is meaningless. The world is full of people who understand what they should do, yet they remain weak, undisciplined, and stuck in the same patterns. Why? Because understanding is easy, but execution is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. This is why this is not just a challenge. It is a war against your weaker self. Over the next 7 days, you are going to do something that most people will never have the courage to attempt. You will put Stoicism into practice. You will confront every weakness, every excuse, every self-imposed limitation. And by the end of it, you will not be the same person you are today. Each day, you will engage in a new battle. You will fight for control over your emotions, for mastery over your discipline, for clarity in your perception, and for the ability to break free from the distractions that enslave most people. You will push yourself into discomfort, strip away the illusions that hold you back, and by the end of these 7 days, you will have built something most people will never possess: unshakable inner strength. Day 1. Master your emotions. Control your reactions before they control you. Most people believe they are in control of their minds, yet their emotions dictate their actions every single day. They snap in anger, break under stress, avoid difficult situations out of fear. A Stoic understands that emotions are merely signals. They do not dictate action unless you allow them to. Today you will begin the process of training your mind to pause before reacting. When frustration arises, stop. Breathe. Do not let the automatic reaction take over. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If it is not, release it. If it is, approach it logically, not emotionally. Throughout the day, count how many times you successfully paused instead of reacting. Keep track. Most people never do this, and that is why they stay trapped. But today, you break free. Day 2. Kill procrastination. Act without waiting for motivation. The greatest lie you tell yourself is, I'll do it later. Later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. And before you realize it, you have wasted years waiting for the perfect time. A Stoic does not wait. A Stoic acts. Today, you will prove that you are in control of your actions, not your excuses. Pick something you have been putting off, an important project, an uncomfortable conversation, a workout you've been skipping. Do it immediately without negotiation. When your mind tells you, I don't feel like it, respond, irrelevant. Today, you will act on principle, not on emotion. At the end of the day, reflect on how many times you acted despite resistance. The weak self waits. The Stoic self moves forward. Which one did you choose today? Day 3. Turn obstacles into opportunities. Reframe your mindset. Everything that happens to you is either an excuse to quit or an opportunity to grow. The difference is in your perception. Today, whenever something frustrating happens, a delay, a setback, a mistake, you will immediately say, "Good," not sarcastically, not bitterly, but with genuine acceptance, as a Stoic does. Missed an opportunity? Good. It forces you to find a better one. Received criticism? Good. It gives you a chance to improve. Someone was rude to you? Good. You now have an opportunity to practice patience. Today, your only goal is to catch every negative moment and turn it into a lesson. You will be tested. Expect it. The question is, will you pass? Day 4. Detox your mind. Eliminate noise and distractions. The modern world is designed to keep you distracted, reactive, and weak. Social media floods your mind with nonsense. The news fills your head with outrage and fear. Gossip and meaningless conversations steal your time. A Stoic guards their mind the way a warrior guards a fortress. Today you cut out the noise. For 24 hours, no social media, no news, no unnecessary conversations. Instead, you will fill your mind with wisdom. Read a book, write in a journal, sit in silence. Observe how different you feel when you control what enters your mind instead of passively consuming whatever is thrown at you. At the end of the day, reflect. Did you miss the distractions, or did you feel lighter, clearer, stronger? The world will always try to steal your attention. The Stoic learns to protect it. Day 5. Seek discomfort. Push your limits. Growth does not happen in comfort. Every time you avoid something hard, you reinforce weakness. Today, you seek discomfort deliberately. You will do something physically or mentally difficult, and you will not allow yourself to quit. Take a freezing cold shower. Push yourself through an intense workout. Read something intellectually challenging. Do something that forces you to confront resistance and push through. When your mind tells you to stop, laugh at it. You are not weak. You do not need comfort. You need strength. Today, you build it. Day 6. Practice selflessness. Give without expectation. Most people only do good when someone is watching. They want recognition, validation, praise. A Stoic acts virtuously without the need for acknowledgement. Today, you will perform an act of kindness for someone else and tell no one. Leave an anonymous note of encouragement. Pay for a stranger's meal. Help someone in need without seeking gratitude. Expect nothing in return. Strength is not just about mastering yourself. It is also about rising above selfish desires. At the end of the day, reflect. Did you help for the sake of helping, or were you still seeking validation? A Stoic acts because it is right, not because it is noticed. Day 7. Reinvent yourself. Choose who you become. This is the final battle. You have confronted emotions, eliminated distractions, embraced discomfort, and acted with discipline. But this is not just about 7 days. This is about the rest of your life. Now you must decide, who are you going to be from this moment forward? Write down the old version of yourself, the habits, beliefs, and weaknesses that no longer serve you. Then, write down who you choose to be, the disciplined, focused, resilient version of yourself that you have proven exists within you. This is your blueprint. Keep it. Read it every day. Become it. This challenge ends today, but the war against the weak self continues. Will you return to old habits, or will you rise and continue this path? The choice is yours. After 7 days of battle, the question remains, did you win? Have you proven that you are stronger than your impulses, your excuses, your old habits? Or will you allow your weaker self to reclaim control, dragging you back into the same patterns that have held you back for years? The truth is, transformation is not a one-time event. It is a daily choice. You don't need to wait for the right moment, the perfect conditions, or external validation. You are the one who decides who you become. So, what now? Will you continue this path, pushing yourself beyond comfort, beyond hesitation, beyond fear? Or will you stop here, letting this be just another challenge you tried for a week and then abandoned? Only one of those choices leads to true strength, to real power, to unshakable control over your own destiny. What will you choose? Will you keep rising, or will you fall back? The decision is yours. Every single day, this battle takes place inside you. Every moment you are faced with a choice: remain the same, stuck in old habits and weaknesses, or step forward into discipline, strength, and mastery. No one is coming to save you. No external force will suddenly give you control over your life. It has always been you versus you. The weaker version of yourself wants you to stay comfortable, to avoid discomfort, to choose the easy path. It whispers excuses, urges you to procrastinate, and convinces you that change is impossible. But the Stoic self, the stronger self, knows the truth, that every hardship is training, every moment is an opportunity, and every decision either makes you stronger or weaker. There is no middle ground. So, what happens next? Will you let the weaker version win again? Will you go back to waiting, hesitating, living by emotion instead of principle? Or will you rise? Because at the end of the day, no one else can fight this battle for you. No one else can make you stronger. It has to be you. This is your moment. Comment below, what battle are you fighting right now? And which version of yourself are you choosing to be? If this message hit you, send it to someone else who needs to hear it. Like, share, and subscribe, because this fight never ends. And the stronger we become, the more we inspire those around us. And before you go, ask yourself this one question. Who is going to win, your weaker self or the person you were meant to be? The choice is yours.